And we should be live. Let us have a quick confirmation. Just to make sure.
Am I alive?
Is this real life? It does look like it is a real thing. Alright, alright.
Oh boy.
It is in existence. It is running. We've been live for 21 seconds. Alright. Oh, and of course, now it's over here. Good lord. Why did it switch?
Something changed?
It switched on me, as it often likes to do. Trolley, trolley, trolley.
This guy Liz.
That should have fixed the issue. Alright. We are good now. Is he gonna fix it over there? Yeah.
Oh, fixing the mouse? The mouse that was going crazy?
It started using the wrong window, as it's prone to do with OBS switching from previews. Okay then, alright, we are ready. Hello everyone, and welcome to the weekly wrap-up number 3. This is Algol, and I'm here with @FNGEddie.
Hello!
I had a really awesome surprise, especially for Eddie, and also for you guys for this week, but it looks like it's going to happen tomorrow, so that kind of sucks, but you know, it's whatever. It'll be in time for next week by 6 days. So, up first, we have a rather amazing story. It continues with the whole 38 Studios and their awesome failure to make a game and what came out of it, even though they were given a huge loan of millions of dollars from the state of Rhode Island to live in Rhode Island, work there, and make Kingdoms of Amalur and Project Copernicus. So they couldn't pay off their debt after, going bankrupt. Obviously, that's kind of what happens. So Curt Schilling, who was the, MLB baseball, played for the Cardinals, he was in charge of 38 Studios and making Kingdoms of Amalur. So in order to try and recoup his debt, some of the collateral he had in the loan, one such item was a bloody sock. This is rather phenomenal that, for one thing, memorabilia of oneself is kind of weird, given it was when he, won Game 2 of the World Series or whatever, but or it was when he's playing against the Cardinals. I don't know baseball. Let's go ahead and clear that up right now. But either way, a bloody sock that he wore when playing in Major League Baseball, he had that posted as collateral for making a video game, amongst all things. I just can't even believe this. I mean, you hear about the THQ story and it's like, oh yeah, we're auctioning off video game assets. The Kingdoms of Amalur story, they made no money on their auctions and now they're having to sell off as collateral, including a bloody sock. The other memorabilia is rather normal. It's usually sports related, but at the very least, it's still memorabilia. It's I feel like it actually has a value. The fact that a bloody sock was one of the many things, if not one of the highest sort of collateral items he had, it amazes me. And look at it. It's a bloody sock. What do you think, Eddie?
I mean, look at the initial bidding asking price.
Yeah.
100,000 for this thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, do what you got to do. That's fine, but
yeah,
I don't know. He has some pretty high hopes for this.
Maybe the bat that won the World Series, that's the kind of thing I'm like, okay. Or if he broke his, I don't think he broke his foot and ran all around the bases. I don't think he had his femur poking out his neck or something, like some outlandish injury where he's just a pile of bones rolling down the bases. Either way, this amazed me. The story, it took my breath away.
Oh, it cracked me up.
Yeah. Oh, it did. Okay, so now Bungie's new IP. This is something I'm extremely excited about. I love the Halo franchise, especially early on. And as it grew, became just more and more tired with it. Even starting with Halo 2, I was over it. It was fun. I enjoyed playing them, but they weren't new. They were just rehashing the same stuff, same plot lines, just same everything. And I was like, okay, the first one was great. They set up for a sequel. That's fine. But you're not telling a story when you're just waiting to see if you can pull off a sequel. When you're actually planning sequels, it actually is meant to be the story. It works. But when you're just making a sequel, it doesn't work. Not for me. Because I don't need the same game every year. I don't care. But based on the concept art I've seen from World of Destiny, Bungie's new franchise, I'm intrigued. I need to know more about this game. This is concept art at its best, especially in the terms of it doesn't look like someone said, do some concept art you think we could then transform into polygons. They just said, make something amazing. What you got? Here it is. Because when I look at this, I say, this will never be translated into polygons. It just won't. It'll look very, very different, especially a tank made of rounded objects, you know? But they might go this direction. They might actually pull it off because it's doable. It's just not practical. And I really, really hope they push to make the game look like this, because if they do, it'll set the tone for their entire development.
Oh yeah, I would definitely say that if they can pull off the aesthetic they're going for with this concept art, it would be one pretty good looking game. Pretty interesting to look at too. Like I can't say anything about the games really because I've never actually played them, never owned anything that could play them. But I love the Halo universe. The written work, it's glorious. The games were less than stellar because they were trying to pimp out a character that could be you.
Mm-hmm.
Like the idea was that you can be this soldier, and the actual story was never truly reflected in the games, unfortunately.
Yeah, that is very true. It had a rather, it was kind of dry, the storytelling. It just kind of, I mean, it was a good story as a whole, but it is true that in playing it, you were very much playing a shooter. I never felt immersed in a story of any kind, unlike a lot of games. You know, like, I know you're a big fan of Red Dead Redemption. That game had extreme immersion.
It was amazing.
So this, to me, I'm already seeing, in this one image, I am seeing story. Whereas in Halo, they built out the first game, which had some story, but they lost a lot of direction for me in the fact that it was more of a, like Crisis, more of a game that had some story. And it works, it's fine. But when you make a whole entire gigantic franchise out of a game that just played really well, I don't see it working, and I also don't see Crisis working in its coming iterations. I think they need to roll something different. Keep making stunning gameplay and visual games, or make amazing story-based games, or do the two. You know, you gotta just commit to either one fully. And so far, I think these are two IPs that have gone very heavily into very functional gameplay, and then when they try and go too heavy into the story, the gameplay suffers. Like in Crisis 2, I felt like they tried to make a really in-depth story, and they just throw you into a city, and the city was pretty limited and linear, unlike in Crisis 1, where even though it was linear, you still could trek through like an acre of woods to get to, point A. So
I mean, unfortunately with that too, Crisis 2 was also put on consoles, so there was that limiting factor.
that's a death stroke.
Yeah.
So I have high hopes for anything from Bungie, especially when they are given a fresh start. It's like a new lease on life. See if I can copy this link like a true professional.
MLG all day, every day.
All right, so this is a story that really means a lot for me because I actually played 2 Human. I was extremely excited for it. It's really an amazing game. However, it's almost like it was not even actually assembled. It was like they gave you the game assets and said, go make it. It was really, really weird. It was a high-paced action game that made you feel like you were playing like the Demon's Souls franchise while playing it, because there were so many odd, clunky aspects. A bunch of weird UI issues, really weird stuff. However, every single bit of the game looked amazing. Every bit of the story was amazing. All the combat was amazing. They just like didn't fit together, and I don't mean they felt like they're from two different things. They just literally, it was like they didn't fit together. It's so hard to explain. The whole time you're playing it, you're like, what is wrong with this game? But you couldn't figure it out. And then all these legal issues came up and all these lawsuits happened where Silicon Knights, the makers of 2 Human, tried to sue Epic, who's, Unreal Tournament, Gears of War, the Unreal Engine. That's Epic. They tried to sue them for not basically telling them how to use the Unreal Engine to make 2 Human, and which is kind of a ridiculous concept, and they also accused them of using the money from their licensing of making the game to fund Gears of War, which either way, yeah, they're going to sell you their product and then use it to fund Gears of War. That's kind of how it works. They complained they didn't use it to improve the engine to make it easier for them to use. It's kind of ridiculous. It's like me buying a house and getting mad at you for not spending the money I gave you to give me a hot tub or something. Like, sounds good on paper, but that's ridiculous to demand. Unless, yeah, it's just ridiculous. It makes no sense. Either way, this was years and years ago, like 2007. This was several years ago, and it's just now really being resolved in the fact that Epic finally had a countersuit and got almost $4.5 million out of Silicon Knights on the fact that in them not knowing how to use the Unreal Engine and not getting the help they needed from Epic, they basically went other places with it to try and get help with it to make the game and actually try and, turn out a product and, cut a profit. They basically gave away trade secrets of the Unreal Engine, and so they were able, Unreal Epic was able to countersue Silicon Knights for $4.5 million. And that finally recently got resolved after all these years. And in doing so, 2 Human was actually recalled. They recalled all copies of the game. And in that regard, it's been removed from Xbox Live listings, which is really a shame because it is a good game. And I think if this company goes under because of this, someone's going to buy this, and they're going to have maybe 6 months to a year of redevelopment, and they're going to fix this game and re-release it and make a crap load of money. I'll be one of the first people to buy it if someone refixes this in any way, because it's a techno-future Norse god story. Like, you're Baldur and there's Loki, and it's amazing. But I don't know what happened, and this is one of the most interesting IPs and legal issues I've ever heard of in gaming, and I hope someone buys it and redoes it. Have you read much of this story in terms of over the last 5 years?
I mean, you basically covered everything there is to know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can only hope that this is picked up by somebody and re-released as a good game.
Yeah.
Because I've heard nothing but good things about the story.
Oh yeah, it's and the visuals and everything, they were amazing. Look at when it was released, and with that in mind, go try and find a Let's Play on it or something and check it out. As long as someone did a full Let's Play of it, you'll probably really enjoy it. But if someone, gets hung up on one of the weird glitches it had and stops, obviously you'll only see that. But try and find something good on it, because there's a lot out there. It is really amazing. And if I'm not mistaken, they actually released this really awesome, like, indie film teaser thing for it. If I'm not mistaken, it was for this. And it was this, like, Swedish documentary, or it was a mockumentary, about these, like, Swedish explorers or something who unearthed basically what they thought was going to be like a woolly mammoth in, like, the ice caps, right? And it was this techno drone monster thing, like this Anubis. It was like the Geth from Mass Effect, basically. And they were like, what in the hell? We just unearthed a frozen robot. If you can find that, I'll try and link it eventually, if I can find it. It is amazing. If you find it before I do, please tweet it at me. But it's amazing. It's this amazing mockumentary that actually makes you think people found a frozen robot, which is to say that what if the Norse mythology actually happened, and it was not unlike Stargate, where the Egyptians are, space aliens. What if the Norse gods were actually techno-magic gods, and some of the remnants of their machines were found in the ice caps? Amazing.
I'm sold.
What happened? But anyways, I cannot wait to see if someone actually picks this up. I think they will. Okay, so now we have Valve launches the Steam community guides. I've been nothing but thrilled with everything they've done with Steam community. I think they've gone every right direction with what they've added, and they've gone really safe with it, so there's plenty of room for expansion without having to then remove features. They can just keep adding features. And in the forum section, I've done a few sort of like when we're playing Guild Wars, I had a couple things in the forum where I added, like, this is a good place to find, this rare ore, the orichalcum, and we could have just made a game guide for it. So I haven't checked it out yet, but I assume you could privatize it if you wanted to, but that's probably best for the forums. But either way, you can make a game guide and people can come look at it, and you can get, your profile can be known for making good guides, and that can be actually something you can tie in with videos. So you can also you can link your YouTube videos on the Steam community. So you could do these walkthroughs or guides, and with each section you could link a YouTube video, and therefore make a really interesting following heavily tied through Steam, which pretty much everyone has. So if you're doing tips, tricks, tutorials, walkthroughs, let's plays, if it pertains to a section of a guide and you did it, you can pretty much link it in right there. It's really amazing to me, and Steam just cares about gamers, and it's very apparent now. They went from, in my opinion, the worst sort of digital gaming integration thing when it first came out to I don't see anything ever passing it in like my lifetime. It's gotten so good.
100% agree with all of that. I really like this feature though. I've never been big in creating guides, but this may make me do it. The whole, you upload images, add screenshots, embed your YouTube videos, write up your guide. I mean,
because I love game facts.
If there's a community verification system or something in place to just make sure the content being displayed is truthful, would be nice. I don't know
That would be nice.
what their plans are in that respect, but
And I'm not quite sure if
maybe no
anyone
more
can
Prima
do
guide.
it, or if it's like things are verified and approved and therefore kind of featured, I suppose. But I think it's super interesting because at the very least, like if I have some particular way I do something, like in Minecraft or something, I can put that in a guide and just link people to it. So basically, I've thought about making a website for myself, but I really don't need to now that I have a forum page and a game guide page. I don't see a reason to need a website anymore. I have voice chat built into my group. Everything's there. There's just no real reason. So the community hub has really now become a community hub to me, and I'm not sure what else they can really add. I'm really curious to see what else they're thinking of.
They'll find something.
I mean, I guess they could add things like video chat, but I don't think that'd be useful, but if it was, they would know exactly how it would be useful. Imagine if they did video chat like they do on Google Hangouts, where whoever's talking is shown, and it was a live UI overlay of your game on your game.
Oh,
they could do all kinds of crazy stuff.
Real-time streaming footage with a video chat going on.
Dude, they might actually integrate some kind of streaming thing,
That I would see this happen.
Because they already have the Steam overlay. What if the overlay was already gearing up to be able to stream what's being captured? Because when you shift tab, it only shows up inside the game window. They already have game source integrated.
Right. This.
You listening,
Gabe?
Ralph?
I hope you're watching.
Gabe, we know you watch this. Oh, Gabe. Gabe with its agape. So, well, if you'll link Polygon, I'd really appreciate you loading in for me. Really appreciate it. What in the world? So, anyways, the story is the Bohemia team members who One was a big part of the DayZ creation, at least. At least one of them was. Not too sure about the other guy. I didn't read much too about him. But it's two guys who work for Bohemia, which is the company that Rocket works for. Rocket being the guy who made DayZ. So, the Arma 2 guys. That makes sense? Two guys who works from Bohemia, who's the Arma 3, Arma 2 company that DayZ is made out of. And Rocket now works for them, or worked for them. And a buddy of his, who's one of the guys, helped him make DayZ, like especially the map. He basically made Chernarus and helped make it work in DayZ. Those two guys went to Greece. They were taking photos, supposedly of a military base in Greece.
Base.
A military beast. So a military base in Greece. So basically what you're seeing in this photo is sort of what they were doing, apparently on a hill or something, taking photos of tanks and planes. And they were arrested. And they've been in jail for like half a year. And there was this huge movement, helpivanmartin.org, where it was raising all this publicity, and the Greek government finally, after half a year, without really proving anything to my knowledge, released them on bail, a bail of 5,000 euros apiece. We're talking half a year in jail for supposed espionage. You release them on 5,000 euro apiece bail. I couldn't believe that. I was thinking surely we're talking at least 100k apiece, because that's what you always hear. But 5,000 euros, I was like, how are you going to value someone being imprisoned for half a year for espionage, military espionage? 5,000 euro bail. That doesn't add up at all. They either found absolutely nothing, or they really didn't want the flack and just let him go. I don't know, but it sounds like they're totally innocent. Given they make military games, they were probably taking photos of military objects, but it could have been literally a tank rolling down the street. It's all kind of hush-hush, and I haven't really been able to find any real details about it, and I don't know that we will, especially since they probably had to sign some sort of agreement. You want to go home? Well, then just go home and never mention this again, and they probably put their cameras into a paper shredder, but at least with this, DayZ gets to move on. But I just can't believe they were held for half a year at all.
I remember reading that there was some government turmoil and this whole civil unrest going on, and the government just wanted to prove, hey, we are actively working for you. This is what we've done. And they really had nothing, so they just released them with a pittance for bail. I mean,
yeah, they were supposed to be in jail for 20 years.
Yeah, they know they're wrong.
It's psychotic. I constantly felt, every time I even heard mention of this, I just felt bad for those guys' families. I mean, holy hell.
It's terrible.
I don't imagine Grecian prisons being anything to write home about, and they actually were able to write home a lot, and in doing that, a lot of what the current DayZ standalone has become is because of this guy's letters. He was like, no, dude, don't do that, do this. And so Rocket was like, oh, great idea. I can't imagine developing a video game through mail correspondence with someone in a Grecian prison who was put there for military espionage, and you're making a military game. That's ridiculous.
You know what must happen is they saw that one video about the guy who's like, oh, do you mean this military base? And they open up Google Maps and just start zooming in until they get to it.
Yeah, that's what happened. That base they were at is on Google Maps. So, sweet. Real sweet.
Yeah.
Oh, man. And I'm under the impression that if anything sensitive was photographed, it was like this setting where it's near a hill. I don't know, but I couldn't believe it, and I'm just glad those dudes finally got released.
I'm pretty sure they were actually in their car on the road riding by.
Probably. It's shameful. It's shameful. They know it. They just missed the good old days where they were building triremes. But that leads into our next story. So DayZ has been officially slated to arrive around April. I don't care when it comes out. I just want him to get the game done the way he wants to, because he clearly has some good ideas, and I want it to be operable at the level he wants for its original release. So there is a beta, I think, already going on, if not very shortly going on, for it's a tech beta, and it almost has no features, as I'm sort of understanding. It's more of a, can you run it? We want to get as many bugs out of it as possible, and then we're going to introduce the features to you, and it becomes a closed beta basically at that point. And then by April, it's supposed to be, the standalone is out, but it's an alpha test at that point. Like, it's not, okay, I didn't mean closed beta. So it's going to go into alpha tech tests, alpha closed test, and then basically alpha open testing is April. But it's the release of the standalone, but he's following the Minecraft model. So that means it's essentially alpha open test. So with that, he has recently been really signing off on how he feels about the WarZ, which is pretty cool because I'm not a fan of them, and I'm ashamed that they are even associable with the video game community. And so is he, and he's talked a lot about how he has had family members and friends who, when I tell my family what I do, they go, okay, cool. And then they go tell people like all this weird stuff that makes no sense. And they come back to me and I'm like, you think I do what? And it's all wrong. So his family members and friends have heard he's making a zombie thing. And it's really popular. And they hear DayZ. Yo, he's making DayZ. And they go, okay. And then they've been hearing all these stories about the WarZ and how awful it is and how this company is screwing people over and stealing people's money and all this crazy crap. And they're coming to him and being like, I can't believe you're doing these things, man. Like, I thought we were friends. I thought you were a good guy. I want nothing to do with you. I'm ashamed of you. Imagine all your family and friends coming to you and telling you about that, especially involving something you're so proud of and that everyone loves, thinking it's an evil, evil copycat doppelganger. I feel bad for him about that. That's pretty terrible.
That sucks.
And it's just one more reason to really love the WarZ.
Boy.
What
I am so glad they lost their the trademark to their name.
Oh yeah, tell them about that story.
I wanna think that Hollywood just decided, you know what? I feel bad for this guy. His name is too closely resembling WarZ, so I'm gonna do him a big one and just crush them.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't have rights to their name WarZ anymore because it's too similar to World War Z. Was that right? World War Z?
Yeah.
Whatever it's called. It's the one with that one movie with Brad Pitt. It's the zombie flick, obviously.
Mm-hmm. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
The WarZ are the kind of people who make those, what are those crazy rip-off movies of like Transformers called? Like the Terraformers or something? And it looks just
Something
like a
that.
Transformers cover, and it sounds just like it, and it's released the day it comes out in theaters. So people think, oh, there's a new Transformers thing? And then they're in like
They get
Best
duped into
Buy,
it.
and they go, oh, it's out on Blu-ray. That's what it was. I thought it was in theaters. No, it's on Blu-ray. They go buy it, and if they're really dumb, they actually think it's it, even though they're watching it. And they got duped, and like, there's all those like Lake Placid ripoffs, all those rip-offs of everything major, especially when it comes to like monster-y kind of movies, because you can easily rip off a little CG image. But these are those kind of people, and they got caught on it really hard on all sides. They didn't go about it at all properly. If you're going to be a little dirty criminal scam artist, you better have all your ducks in a row. They had no ducks, no rows, none of that. So I hope it even I hope there's like a $400 million lawsuit that comes out of it, really.
Dude, I half expect something to come out at some point.
Something's
Like they're just gonna flat out stop supporting the game, and then somebody's gonna get up in arms and get a civil suit against them. It's gonna be good.
Yeah, I hope they lose all their gaming assets and have to award them to like Rocket or something, and he just gets all of the content they had. If he just wants their assets, he can have them, whatever. It'd be awesome.
They go the two-human route.
Yeah. Oh, ridiculous. Okay, so I couldn't believe I read this. Halo 2 PC servers are still running. I was amazed. But they are going down on February 15th, so if you're still playing them, sorry, not for long. speaking about how they were shutting down all of those, was it Zynga games and EA games? Or was it EA games? No, it was all
It
those
was EA.
sport games. Either way, those games were like what 2 years old, if so
Yep.
sport games
Majority of those.
basically having like a 2 year lifespan, and bye, see ya. Halo 2, I cannot believe they're still supporting this game in any capacity at all, even on PC. It's way easier on PC than it is on Xbox Live, but how many Halos have there been? One, two, three. Has there been like five, six?
Something like that.
Because there's been
It's
one, two,
four.
three,
There's
ODST,
Reach.
four. So
6 of them.
five or six, whatever. Either way, I mean, holy cow, Halo 2 is still being supported. For one, it shows to me, yet again, PC is the superior human race, superior gaming race. So I remember playing like LAN on Halo 1, and then there was this mod thing you could download, and it would network your Xbox, then through your computer, then to online. And as the original Xbox Live, basically. And there was like ladder systems for clan matches and stuff. It was really crazy. And then Xbox Live came out, and things became unreal. Halo 2 was like pretty much the definition of Xbox Live's success. And I think one of the pivotal reasons Xbox is still around. Like, really, I put a lot of weight into something as specific as Halo 2. And I'm stunned that it's been supported this long. I was stunned that sports games were supported for 2 years, and I'm stunned this was supported this long. Because, I mean, let's see, does it even say on here when it came out? 2010? Is that what it said? No.
PC version.
Oh, the Xbox Live version was shut down in 2010. I was like, I'm on drugs if that came out in 2010. So, yeah. Either way, it's easy to support PC games. You should get a PC. It's where the party is. So this news story right here is... This is one of those sort of... you fooled me once, shame on me. You fooled me twice, shame on me. I bought your game again, shame on me sort of situations. Deep Silver, the makers of Dead Island and the now sequel Dead Island Riptide. This expansion, it's not a sequel, it's an expansion, sequel, add-on, whatever. But you get this collectible bust with the game if you buy the right version. So it's a seductive female bust torso, or it's actually more of a busted torso. It's a zombie, human shoot up, armless, necklace bust. Now, it's not just like in the Greco style where they took away those features, they have been eaten away. And it's also in a bikini, wearing the Union Jack bikini. So it was supposed to be the European and Australian release. And look at it. This is ridiculous. We're talking like the most gory. It's the most gory statuette I can think of, and I've seen a lot. And this is the most gory one I can personally think of. I've seen a lot of weird spawn ones and a lot of zombie ones, but I kind of don't include those because they are sort of in their own realm, so to speak, because they have been there for so long. But this is a video game and a statuette. You would kind of think it'd be like one of the main tools, like that chainsaw bat thing. Like something like that as a statuette would be really funny. This is kind of crazy, and I saw it, and I just said, I would not care if someone had that. But that is a ridiculous thing to think a lot of people would like to have with their game. Because it is really over the top, and it's ridiculous. This is the kind of thing, if you wanted to sell it on your website, I don't think anybody would have cared. But including it with the product in certain editions, I think is kind of outlandish. And one of the few things where someone goes, video games are crazy, look at this thing. I'd be like, that thing is crazy. That's not video games, though. That's them. So, Dead Island, I played it. Really, really wanted to love it. Pretty much just utter trash and garbage, in my opinion. They had so much to work with, and it fell apart in a really weird way. not unlike Too Human, really. Felt really solid, and then like in 30 seconds, it just fell to pieces, and you're like, why? What happened? So I don't know what
Right
they did.
after the Who Do You Voodoo.
Yep. So really, it's just another example of, you know, weird game development that should have been amazing and fell apart in some weird way, and then somehow they made enough money to make this, and they made this. So,
I can't formulate a proper thought. This is so ridiculous.
and what is kind of unclear, at least from when I gathered this article, is they made an apology about it,
Oh yeah.
especially to the Europe and Australia, and saying, we're sorry, this won't happen again. But it's really not been cleared up anywhere I've seen. The whole again thing, they just kind of go, it won't happen again. No real information on if they're going to not make it. So I think this kind of thing usually takes a lot of development and planning and, funds, which they don't really have a lot of extra funds from what I would imagine based on how the first one was. I don't think they're going to
They
not make these.
they gotta sell what they got.
Yeah, so that's like the cops walking in and you're like starting to kill somebody and you're just like cutting them and they're like stop and you're like, oh dude, next time I'll stop, but this time, man, I'm already going to jail. I just gotta finish. Like, really, you're just not gonna bite the bullet because they could not include this with those games and sell them online, and the people who wanted them could pay a premium for them. Too easy, just too easy. And I have to note that not only did they make it grotesque in violence, grotesque in sexuality, but I'm pretty sure they specifically told the sculptor, make it look like this woman had implants. Like, it looks like they genuinely told them that, which is kind of more
Looks
bewildering to
like
me.
that was a dude and now has implants.
Yeah, yeah,
That's what it looks like.
yeah. If you flash fired my body to remove body hair and gave me implants, we're pretty much on ball. That's what I look like.
Ooh.
You'd have to
In
flash
that
fire the body,
case.
though. So, this bewildered me. When I saw it, the second I saw it, I honestly, it was one of those movies, I was kind of like hazy, and I was like, is this like a joke kind of thing? Is this a, could you believe if they made a sequel and it had this, and then it was like, this is a sequel? We're already apologizing like 6 seconds in. It was all falling apart, the whole article. But
Immediate regret.
yeah, I just, you never see this kind of thing because everyone has more common sense than it, except for these guys. That's kind of the, the highlight of this article. So up next is something I've been really dying to figure out, and it's Guild Wars 2. They've sold 3 million copies. I couldn't be more excited about that. Yee! Because I love the game. Eddie loved the game. I stopped playing it mainly because I maxed out 2 characters really quickly, and there wasn't so much for me to keep playing. However, you don't subscribe, you just buy it, and I can play whenever I want. So whenever they release something new, I can just go back and play, and I don't have to worry about like reactivating a subscription or having paid money and not played and it like eating away my credit card. So that's a great thing, and they've sold 3 million copies, which means 3 million people gave them the money they needed and probably paid a little bit here and there in the in-game store. And if they don't want to play anymore, they can stop playing, and Guild Wars doesn't have to pay the money to host those people's server time. It really works out because they get the money out of you they really need, and if you want to take a break, they're not having to host your playtime. It's pretty genius, and I'm really glad that this is going to give them plenty of money to make more content and keep supporting the game. And I have no idea what they've made in terms of in-game store stuff. Probably a lot. I've seen a
Oh
lot
yeah.
of dyed armor.
It, it's one of those games where you're gonna find people who dropped a couple thousand
Oh yeah,
just for that cash out.
yeah. Just getting die packs and
Mm-hmm.
experience boosters on every character. I mean, people for sure have gone hard on it because there's those people who were Bill Gates status like just rolling in cash.
That play this game. Yeah.
And they just love,
I mean,
they have like 8,000 plex in Eve, and they're just like, oh yeah, I'll buy this. I want everything. I can buy it all. I'll buy that solar system. Done. Cool. I mean,
I'll buy that solar system.
yeah, I mean, cool. Like, that's your prerogative, man. Do it. Like, it's in the game. Buy that solar system. It literally cost you an average U.S. citizen's salary. That's awesome that you did that. Because you paid for the development of its expansion. Sweet. So,
Good stuff.
I just can't wait to see what more innovative content Guild Wars 2 offers. Expansions here and there, that's fine, that's fine. More features, more features. That's all I want to see from them, really. And I had trouble seeing where we were, but we are here, ladies and gentlemen. Redirecting. Cyberpunk 2077. I think arguably the most anticipated game, the game I'm most anticipated for, that I know is like officially coming to the States. Because Arcade just kind of like on the back burner, may not actually happen yet. It's not been confirmed a publisher. So that aside, this game, Cyberpunk 2077. Oh my gosh. So this article is an interview with the creator of Cyberpunk 2020, the original writer of the pen and paper game, Cyberpunk 2020. And he's also writing / helping make Cyberpunk 2077 with CD Projekt Red. And, they came to him asking him if they could make the game. And he was kind of like, yeah, people have asked before. And they were like, well, let me tell you why I want to make it. And they just started listing all these features they want to do and all the story elements. And he was all like, man, I forgot I wrote that. You guys are diehard fans. You outlured me. Lured me. So there's a really cool interview at Machinima. So the link is in this article. You just click on it and go watch it. It's a really interesting, really well done interview. It's very cinematic and indie. But the dude's crazy passionate. And
it shows.
It made me freakishly excited about this game.
And then his voice does nothing but help sell the game.
I've seen or heard him somewhere else. For
That's
sure.
the same feeling I got.
I was like, what? I need to figure that out. Because he's either had another game that he was a big part of, and I've seen other interviews with him, or something. But yeah, he is very like James Earl Jonesy. Like, I mean, he is black, but he's also like extremely James Earl Jonesy. It's this like it's almost like the dudes from Stargate that had magic tapeworm aliens inside of them, the Goa'uld or whatever, Goa'uld. So yeah, they talk, like his voice has been pulled out of his body and is like inside of a box of oak. I don't know. It's terrible. It's like a tree man or something. It's like, it's just
LP
like
spotlights in the game. I want his voice in the game.
It's like two rocks just like mating with each other. Just like a But yeah, he could definitely be the voice of some terrifying bum or something. So, another game I am actually really, really excited about. I don't know why, per se. Because I feel like it's going to be a lot like Uncharted, but with a girl character. I do love girl characters, unlike a lot of people I know. You know who you are. But, the new Tomb Raider game. It looks awesome to me. I don't really like the whole helpless... She's not helpless, but she has this sprinkling of like damsel in distress about her because she's
very green.
Yeah, she's green. That's a good way. She's not Lara Croft. She's not like, I'm Indiana Jones with, double D's. She's like, I am actually a believable character. I am a girl who's kind of thrown into this situation, and I'm not going to be punching bobcats in the face and winning, hands down. It's very much like, I'm a 130-pound girl, and this is what would happen to someone who has no military training or whatever. So the realism of that intrigues me. I like girl characters. Usually it's more along the lines of like, Quasar or some other kind of super-powered female character that just happens to be a female character who's a cool protagonist, but this is actually I'm actually intrigued that there so far hasn't been that many complaints that I've seen about making a quote unquote weak female character. It intrigues me a lot. I'm just surprised that so far it has a good reception. I don't know if maybe when it comes out it'll get burned. It seems like they're doing
When
it.
people see the rape scene, that's
Yeah,
when we'll get our answers.
yeah, it's true. It's gonna be awesome. I mean, I love the game Uncharted. I just don't relate with that Nathan Fillion character. I see it and I go, yeah, I get it. I don't know. I didn't really care. Love the game though. Amazing game. Amazing to watch. I feel like this is a different like facet of that, and I'm stoked for it. I don't know why. I saw a trailer for it when they first released it at whatever Ep3 a millennia ago, and I just went, I'm really excited for this, and I can't tell you why. So they've added.
It feels different because the protagonist is female. It's an element
Yeah,
that you don't 100% know.
and it's a
I mean,
believable female.
that's how I look at it. Yeah,
And I
that
don't mean
too.
that as saying they should all be weak. It's just they're not avoiding the possibility of a weak female, and that intrigues me because it's showing your passion by committing to something and not bending at the will of people possibly not liking it. Unlike the gore statuette, where they clearly made a bad PR choice. To me, this is a passionate art choice. Is there a difference? Is it, kind of a hypocritical view? I don't know, but either way, this to me seems genuine. That statuette was ridiculous. So
Hmm.
I have high hopes for this. I hope they pull off what they want, and I hope it is as tasteful and as powerful as it feels. So they have also added multiplayer, and they mentioned having this gigantic team of people that they pulled from all these different companies or divisions, and they're all working on it, and they said it's like full multiplayer, and it's in a meaningful way. So I don't know.
I think they mentioned multiplayer that impacts single player,
Mm-hmm.
which is interesting to me.
Yeah. I mean, they essentially, from as I gathered, I think they said it's basically full multiplayer. I don't know. There'll definitely be more news on that, but it's a genre. To me, this is the Uncharted genre now. It's plenty. Uncharted is basically, Uncharted kind of came out of Tomb Raider, and because of that, Tomb Raider is sort of really taking what Uncharted did and like just like taking it and running with it. And the concept of Tomb Raider, this sort of Indiana Jones girl, whatever character, all of that character I think really has potential, and they went realistic with it. So we'll see if they are actually able to pull it off. Now then, SimCity. Super excited about SimCity. Super excited, just like super salad. It's soup or salad, ladies and gentlemen, not super salad. Don't get confused. But SimCity Beta coming the weekend of January 25th. I signed up because I cannot wait for this new SimCity. It's multiplayer, and Eddie's gonna buy it and play it with me.
This guy making
This
these grand assumptions over here.
Hey man. Hey man. Get it.
Hey man, I'll think about it.
Either way, it's going into beta, and I hope there's some kind of no NDA, because I want to talk about it and stream it and show it off, but I'm sure it'll be under NDA. But that's okay. I'll deal and just enjoy it in my cave with like a Snuggie and everything. But if you're interested in the game, go sign up for the beta, for real. You're not going to regret it. It could be really buggy. I don't know. I hope it's more of a feature kind of beta, because from what I've seen of the game, all their little tech demos and stuff, they're just like playing the game and like whipping through things. It looks insanely solid. So I hope it's a very fully functioning game already, and it's more of a do we like this kind of feature type thing. Maybe even gameplay kind of balancing. Maybe it's more like how fast can you get to this kind of development of your city. Maybe we got to rebalance the way finances work. Things could be too overpowered. I hope it falls more in those lines, and it's not just a does your computer crash, and if so, like a stress test basically. I hope it's not like that, because that can be a big waste of your time and slash your hopes and dreams. How excited are you, Eddie? For tornadoes?
About as excited as I can be for a real life tornado. I don't know. It's never been a game or game genre that I've ever been a part of or experienced. I've always grown up on shooters. That
Mhm.
is my staple. But I've been recently exploring sandbox games, and they have been this lethargic but pleasant experience so far.
Mhm.
I can only hope that SimCity is the same, if not better.
That's an interesting way of saying a lethargic and pleasurable experience, because in my original like Age of Empires sort of experience, which was my first sort of like just time sink kind of game, and then going into like Ultima Online and EverQuest and stuff, you just like lose time in these games. You just invest time, and when I can look back and remember like pounding 6 packs of Coke, like a Coke an hour, just like my kidney hurt and like I'd be peeing constantly and just like, oh, sitting right there. And it was a crazy experience. And I guess I have evolved or adapted, because I can literally sit here for 24 hours and play any game with any amount of monotony or time sink and just go, yep, that was a day, whatever. No effect. But I can look back at the same exact experience. Because me and you played, how long did we play Age of Empires for the other day? A day? I don't, 12
Oh my
hours?
god, it was at least half a day. Uh, Somewhere
And
along
I
10
just felt
hours or
normal.
something.
At the end of it, I was like, we should probably take a break, because I don't want to ruin this right now, because we were on a good vibe. But
Oh yeah.
it was a good like 12 hours, because he never played
It
an
was...
Age of Empires game. So I'm hoping we'd get the same thing out of this, because this is like the city building we do in Age of Empires, but we reach a certain point in Age of Empires where we could have killed him like 6 hours ago, and we just don't. Whereas in this game, you can play the same game for like ever.
Ever. This guy.
So, I'm excited. It's going to happen, ladies and gents. And I don't know if it's
It-
more than 2 player, but man, if it is,
Oh
the
yeah.
possibilities.
Oh.
Because then you could have like a guy in charge of like the heart of downtown, a poop guy, an electricity guy, a water guy, casino guy, a cop guy.
You could quite literally have a city of people.
Ooh. So I'm and I don't know if people can micromanage inside other people's cities, because you have like a map. It's like a coastal region, and you can like make your city, and then a friend can make a city on the same map with you. But I don't know if you can kind of be in the same city, because that's a big deal. You could really make your city efficient if you're just like just back and forth in with each other. So we'll see. Either way, even if it's just you both have 2 cities on the same map, it's still amazing. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Love it. So up next we have free cars for everyone.
You get a car, you get a car, and you get a car.
So this is Vanguard's Saga of Heroes. They removed a lot of the free-to-play restrictions. So as in the things, there's a free-to-play version and a version where you can pay every month and get more stuff. The list of things that the free-to-play players can now do has grown. And Eddie recently checked this out about an hour before this information came out.
Mm-hmm.
So
Didn't even realize the restrictions were lifted. Just jumped in there and started playing.
So he's the one guy who started playing that day before the before the restrictions were lifted. The weirdest stat chart you'll ever see. It climbed before it happened. So how do you feel about this game so far?
I love that they are lifting these restrictions, because they're lifting a restriction on class and race, so that lets you pick and choose whatever class and race combination it is that you actually wanted to play.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to play this giant werewolf dude blood mage. I can now. It's awesome. And then there is no level cap, so you can play to the cap. You don't get stuck at this weird area and leveling and just can't progress anymore. And then if you want to own a house, you can. You can own a house. That was like the biggest draw for me, was that you could have a home here. And then creating guilds, that's not something I was even remotely interested in, was having a guild in there. But you can create guilds now. Um, what's another thing? Okay, so having a sub, it's a convenience factor now. So it's you have an XP boost and you have discounts on fees that you incur in the game, and you're allowed to own two housing plots rather than just the one. This is all $15 a month. Personally, I will not ever be paying a sub.
Hmm.
Sorry to say, but if like in the cash shop there's mounts and whatnot, I would gladly go in there and pay for something like that. And they have that option now. You get the character you wanted now. Play the game to cap. Do everything. There is no gated content anymore.
Hmm. That's really
Which I think is
interesting that
Go ahead.
they would have previously had race restrictions and class restrictions if that is what you're locked into the whole game. It's weird to do that now that I think about it. I think Champions, I guess, does that too in a way. But you can respec at least eventually if you unlock those powers. But to have a free-to-play game where you can't play as certain races and classes, kind of expecting people to start playing for free and then want to subscribe to enhance their experience, making it where they can't even play who they want to play as to begin with, that's really dumb.
It is. Also consider that this is the restrictions and all these things occurred a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a couple of years since they've acquired this IP. And really at the time, what were other games doing? As far as I'm concerned, this is something, it's archaic, yeah, but it's something that was very common when free to play was just starting up in the Western audience. They gate content, they gate what you can pick and choose at the start of the game. EverQuest 2 is still gating the race and classes. I'm sure that'll eventually change if
Well,
it hasn't
since
already.
it's SOE, right? So
Right, exactly.
yeah.
Because this is SOE who has Vanguard now.
So this will be successful, hopefully, and they will do the same thing. I've still never played EverQuest 2. I had a friend who started playing it when it first came out, and I was knee-deep in either another SOE game or City of Heroes, maybe, and he started playing it, and I was like, dude, I lost half my life to EverQuest. I'm not getting into a second one. Not to mention, I might have even still been playing the first one. I don't know, but I never got into it, and it's a lot of content I'd still like to see. I love the EverQuest lore and everything. It's really good.
There is a lot of content for EverQuest 2. Lots of it. Not as much as EverQuest 1, I don't think,
There's
but there's
13
still a lot.
expansions for EverQuest 1, dude.
Yeah, so
It's like
it
the
doesn't,
it's like
it
The
doesn't
Sims
match
2.
1, but there is a lot of stuff. And
Yeah.
I personally will not get back into EverQuest 2. It's
You won't, you
just
said?
too much stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Much
there
stuff.
goes my life, Eddie. Slashing my dreams. But yeah, hopefully, I mean, the fact that they have PlanetSide, which is their biggest, to me, it's their biggest game right now, hands down, in terms of kind of where they're directing resources, I would imagine. And this is a game that I didn't know was a Sony IP, so they've now done it with this game in terms of how the free-to-play model is working. They're going to have to transcend that to basically every game. There's no point
Yep.
really not to, because
And that's what we're going to see.
all the other games are pretty much older, and if they're still getting subscriptions, that's fine and good. That's guaranteed money. But they're not getting subscriptions like they were in the heyday, like back when I was playing EverQuest. They probably have like 100th of that number. And they're also supporting way less servers, and they're not really making crazy new content. It's just like some new dungeons, same assets, not a big deal. Very low cost. They're probably killing it in money from EverQuest 1. But I mean, if you made it totally free to play, and I don't know what in the heck you'd have in EverQuest 1 that you'd sell to people. I mean, XP boosts. Like, if you gave someone like a 5% XP boost for $1,000, it makes your gameplay better in EverQuest 1. That is the grindiest dang experience you're ever going to have. Any XP boost is like a holy ray of sunshine, but I mean, you could sell a lot of things. I think grinding, things that cut down on grinding would be phenomenal to make it a free-to-play game. And people who wanted to play that game would buy those, hands down. So the fact that their biggest, newest game is totally free to play in every freaking aspect other than hood ornaments for your car, I mean, everything's going to go this way. And if they don't, they're going to really, really pay the price.
Gonna hurt.
Because you look at things like Xbox Live, which I fought tooth and nail with people about, because when it first came out and you paid, $60 a year to have the service, it was worth it. You actually got a really good service. Like, the online Xbox Live gameplay was amazing, and they offered a lot of really cool demos and things. It was totally worth it. And then PSN came out. I thought it was incredibly unstable. I thought PlayStation's, not their UI, but their online services, I thought were trash. Their web browser, all their YouTube interfaces and Netflix interfaces, I thought it was all been trash. And when I would try and play like Killzone 2 and stuff on people's PlayStations, it was awful. We never could play right. It was always crashing. It was insanely laggy. These are all my experiences. So for me, I had absolutely no problem paying a little bit for Xbox Live because I just had nothing but good things to say about it. And I hated PSN. And then now I never really hear anything bad about PSN. And then Xbox Live still has a $60 charge, which to me, after talking about those like NVIDIA grid servers and stuff, I don't get why you need to pay for Xbox Live. It seems just ridiculous. So,
and the other thing, PSN, if you can subscribe to PSN if you want, and when you subscribe to PSN, you get a pretty big discount on every game.
Well, you get like a free game a month.
Hundreds of games are free. They turn free.
There's a lot of like $10 games you get for free. Like,
yeah, as long as you're still subscribed.
Right.
As long as but at the same time, it's like I'll get a sub for a month, play all these games that I want to play, and stop my sub, and I don't actually want to play the games ever again.
Right.
And it'll be fine. So it's become really good.
Yeah. So there's not. I mean, Xbox Live is sort of in that realm, but I don't feel like it's really makes sense anymore. And I just feel like, put some ads on the side or something. Like, get with the internet, man. Like, something. Come on. Subscriptions don't make sense anymore. It made all the sense in the world for EverQuest, and Ultima Online to have these subscriptions back on the dial-up days where servers were like the most expensive freaking thing in the world. Everything's online now. Everyone makes servers. They make them dirt cheap. They're insanely powerful. Things like PlanetSide, where a lot of stuff happens client-side, it doesn't make sense. Drop the subs, man. I'll buy some hood ornaments. Like, get rid of this crap.
Or make them 100% optional.
Yeah.
Give the guy that wants the convenience factor of being able to level up faster or get more credits or currency and all that. Have him pay the price that he wants to pay. That's fine. Just don't force it on me.
And I really think the game comes out in 2 days. You can pay us $200 and you never ever have to buy a single piece of content for this game. I think that's amazing. I did it with
those lifetime
subs things. I did it for Champions Online. Don't regret it. Played the game for 2 years, I think, like steadily. Maybe for a couple of weeks I wouldn't play, and I come back in for a little update and play it. But I loved what they did with City of Heroes. I supported them in Champions Online. I loved it. I gave them $200. I had the money to do it at the time, and I got a crazy amount of content. I really did. Like the amount of costumes and things they release, which is things I really care about. I'm a graphic designer. I'm an artist. I care about that stuff, and I got crap loads of it for free. And I knew people who bought every single costume, and they paid way more than I did, way more, especially in terms of also subscribing. And given it went free to play, but you don't get all that stuff in free to play, you have to buy all of it. It's tons of it. So if you're free to playing and not buying any costume stuff, you're getting away like a criminal. If you're buying anything in that game now, post the lifetime membership or a subscription, you're just draining your blood out basically. But optional subscriptions that, like in PlanetSide, if you subscribe, you basically get an XP boost, and basically most of the money you spend on it, you get back as money for the in-game stuff. So you're basically just actually buying stuff in game, and you're also getting XP boosts. So the
And
money
an
is just
allowance.
yeah. It's actually it's more like retirement almost, where you say like, here's 200, here's like $100 over the next 12 months. Please divvy it out to me. It's like a retirement investment or something, like a 401k, because you're getting it all back, and if not more. It's interesting. So I think that's a model that works, but making someone subscribe for something or nothing, it's kind of almost insulting in this day and age. So yeah, I'm gonna check out Vanguard for myself and make Eddie play whatever he said he wasn't gonna play. EverQuest 2.
This guy.
So Warframe. Edward, I think this is you, man.
Warframe, another great game that has actually launched with a free-to-play model that has no gated content whatsoever from the get-go. Everything that you can buy in a cash shop that they have, you can craft or outright buy with in-game currency. And things that you can outright buy with in-game currency don't take all that long to actually get the credits for. Um, there are two specific items that I am not aware of there being alternatives to getting except for paying for them. They are upgrades that allow you to basically give all your weapons or your warframes double the upgrade slots available. So that means double stats, double mod slots, which means you can put more items in there to make them even more powerful. But at the same time, it's not something you need per se. If you are a smart, skillful player, you don't need this at all. Like I've played for hours, capped out with about 10 points sitting in the bank that I could have invested in the upgrade version of it, but did not because I was doing it just fine without them. Um, and they don't intend to do anything more beyond this as far as monetization. They want everything to be um, basically free for the player. They don't want you to feel like a second class citizen.
Mm-hmm. I think what they're doing right now is really interesting because, Eddie was mentioning to me, it's basically like, kind of imagine like a crisis suit, Master Chief suit, but far more ninja-like. And in space, you're like an you're like an ancient ninja, really. Yeah, like an ancient ninja samurai. You know, you. But okay, so like Master Chief is, like an imperial combat machine, but he is in the realm of kind of a near future where it's humans, machine guns. So imagine taking the idea of like a samurai ninja type class and putting them just like way far into the space future, and you get the Tenno, which is who you play as. So you're in this like, I'm not quite sure if you are like really I mean, I guess you're a dude in a suit. That's yeah. You're not really a robot
Yep.
or anything, are you?
No, no, you're a dude in a suit.
Yeah. So
These
you're
warframes are essentially exoskeletons.
yeah. So you're some sort of humanoid esque creature in these suits, and you can change the suits out. And you're doing, I kind of wish you could jump a lot higher inherently because it makes you feel more powerful always to me. But either way, you're like punching dudes' heads off. You're taking your sword and charging them up and just slicing them in half. You're shooting the just ever living snot out of them. And you get a feeling that you really were frozen and awakened. And, they froze you because you're like the baddest Jedi ninja murderers on the planet or in the universe. And you killed all enemies. And then they came back and they unfroze you and be like, yo, dudes, just decimate everyone. And you do. You're extremely powerful. And I feel like the only times you really die are when you kind of take your power for granted and get cocky and get yourself killed. But that's
Oh yeah,
fun.
every time.
I like killing rats and leveling up. It's cool. And I also like being Superman. And just how much can I kill the fastest? And will, in doing that, get me swarmed before I can do my next AoE a kill, So I like that idea. I always build glass cannons in MMOs where I do as much DPS as possible with no health. And I do the same thing in this. I'm Excalibur. I just have two amazing short swords, and I gear all myself out for damage and low shields, and I just go in there and see how many dudes I can chop in half, how fast I can dodge their bullets, and in doing so I die here and there, and I can get revived like in Borderlands. But the game looks amazing, feels phenomenal, and it's already fully functioning. However, what you would kind of consider gameplay doesn't exist yet. It's interesting. The gameplay mechanics and literal what you're doing to play the game is all there. All your controls, all your shooting, all your melee, all in the game. But in terms of like, oh, I am doing a mission and doing capture the flag or whatever, there's real story elements here. They're not in the game. But it doesn't matter because it's like, a Diablo game where there's these randomly generated sort of dungeons, and you can play as many as you want on these different locations. You get different loot. It's all there. It's a fully functioning game. Yet it's not there at all, but it's still fun. It's really interesting, and I love that games now can make a fully functioning foundation, release, have, a shop of some kind for experience and everything, and it works. This game to me is like a tech demo, and it's fully functioning, and it's going to keep releasing content that makes the game more and more and more like a AAA title, and it's going to show drastically.
I can only hope they keep on development with this game. The potential there is astounding.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, me and Eddie were just sitting there playing this for hours, just talking about the endless possibilities we could see them going with, just like a horde mode to the extreme with like hundreds of enemies, because right now you get to, you can get your suit to this very powerful level, and if you get the like, you can either buy to have it upgraded to like the unlocked edition. Basically, to me it's like you go from like a level, basically you're like a level 0 suit in my eyes, and then if you max it out you're like a level 1 suit, and then if you pay to have it unlocked you become basically a 2 and or a 3 suit, how much you max it out. And apparently you can unlock the suit by finding an item to unlock it, so I'm told. Not really sure about that personally, but I would like to see it go to like level 20 suits where like you swing your sword and we're talking Dynasty Warriors, like 100 dudes are dead. I want the game to get that intense. I love the idea of, running through space corridors, killing 5 dudes, 10 dudes, 30 dudes in a hallway, but I want it to be like I'm in a space station base planetary structure wiping out hundreds of dudes, because it feels like, you're still shaking the ice off your cryo freeze, and I would like to see it like get to a ridiculous, like, you are the Tenno, you are just killing any and everything on this planet. So,
well, I hope Digital Extremes is watching.
We know you're watching this, Gabe and Digital Extremes. So if you haven't checked it out, it's free to play, like we're saying. Go download it. You might have to, if you go to the homepage, it says like closed beta keys here, here, and here. Just pick one, sign up on their website. If you have like an IGN account, just go to the IGN one, get a beta key, play the game. That's it. Simple as that. Have fun with it. Really, really give it a shot too. There's a lot of interesting combos and things, and if you can't really figure it out, or if you don't know if you want to play, go check out FNG's channel, FNGEddie, the guy I'm talking to, and watch his WARFRAME spotlights. They're really awesome, really informative. Now then, WurmOnline. Now, it's Worm with a W, or WURM. So if you like Minecraft, if you like Ultima Online, EverQuest, any of these games, you're inherently going to like something about Worm. Now, I just love player housing and settling and building and like playing with friends. So we've been really looking for things to kind of replace ArcAge until we get it. And Worm came up, and I was like, yeah, I've heard about it. It's been out since like 2003. Haven't really been interested in it. but imagine Minecraft, but played through a first-person 3D engine that isn't blocky pixel world. And you basically have Worm. It's a fully functioning 3D game. It's in Java, and oddly enough, this is a game Notch helped work on. So it is a lot like Minecraft, but it's a lot more like an EverQuest in a way. So if you're at all familiar with like EverQuest 1, imagine that, but with the world editing and building and crafting like you have in Minecraft. But it also, the crafting is a lot more, in terms of like what you can make, it's like Ultima Online. Like you're making boats, you're blacksmithing like crazy with special components, handles, blades, hilts, logs into planks, into shafts, into handles. Like you're going crazy with it with tons and tons of tools. And it's awesome.
Let's run down the construction of something
Mm-hmm.
to give them an idea. So, constructing a cog. You recall how to make one?
Yeah, the cog is a boat. I'll just pull up the list right now
This guy. This guy.
because I got it. I got it somewhere. Oh. Okay, so we have the cog. The cog is I believe it's a 9-man boat. Well, I had it. I got it. I'll get it. How fast am I using a wiki? We'll never know. Okay, so the cog. It is a 9-man ship. So we're talking like a 30-foot ship. It has a big square sail on it and a crow's nest. So the captain and 8 crew members. It can hold tons of items. It is a trade ship, but it has 1,119 components, each of which you are crafting by hand. So you go cut down a tree. You chop it into logs. You saw those logs into planks. Now you need 311 whole planks. Each one takes 30 to 10 seconds to make. So there's 311 of those, 10 of another item, 210 of another item, 420 of another item. It goes all the way down. So you need 1,200 items. Each one takes around 30 seconds to make. You do the math. You also have to go cut down the trees, mine the iron, make the rope, dig the tar, all the things you need to make this boat. And then you also have to then take 30 to 15 seconds to add each piece of the boat to the boat. Feel free to do that math. I'm not going to do it. I don't want to know how long it's taking to make this boat we're making.
On top of that, keeping your thirst level up, keeping a good level of nourishment up, and making sure that any and all injuries incurred are being healed or treated. Making sure you have all the stamina required to even begin to do one of these tasks.
Mm-hmm.
And the moving of resources.
That's the boat. So, like looking at this setting we're looking at right now, we have this flat little shoreline here. That wasn't there. Someone came in with a shovel and poured dirt down and then flattened it out and then got their masonry and made a couple pavers and paved the road, probably planted these trees the way I wanted to, made this nice little dock, made these ships. It's like Minecraft. You fully sculpt the world, you farm, you build, you do all these things. It's basically Minecraft, but not blocky and unforgiving. It's, like a stone block, basically, is in the world, but it's like, it takes 50 removals of stone to disintegrate that block, and you have a mining tunnel. So, the instant gratification of Minecraft, you don't have in this. But you have the infinite gratification of it being an MMO. So you can play on a PvP server and be like catapulting down people's houses and robbing them and murdering them and doing all kinds of crazy stuff, stealing all their loot and armor. Or you can play on non-PvP like we do and just see how amazing of a town basically you can build and how bad your neighbors are going to troll you. Which
Neighbors.
is today's experience. So it's amazing. And if you're looking for the freedom of Minecraft in a deeper experience, this is for you. This is your game. The combat is abysmal. It is awful. It is tab targeting, A attack, that kind of trash. Awful. But if you manage to ever level up your combat on training dummies, or if you ever find any kind of beast in the game that isn't a giant scorpion, you could probably level up your combat and love it. Your gear's going to be terrible, so you actually got to get really good gear. So basically, you have to become a helpful tradesman. Because if you actually know anything about like medieval history, especially English, you know, for the people who were lords and everything, and knights, you weren't just like, I'm going to go be a knight and be a combatant. The knights were freakishly wealthy businessmen and royalty who had the money to afford weapons and armor. It is the same in this game. They just don't really tell you that, but if you understand that principle, it makes sense. You're not a combat class. You have to be ridiculously wealthy to afford the means to fight. And that's the way they go with this, and it's really cool in that regard. So it forces you to appreciate the craft side of things, because you kind of have to do it, or somehow get into trading, which you got to have a really nice boat or something to do that. And then also, like, let's say you start on a server. It's the same map as every other server, as well as I am aware. And if you want to go to another server, you just sail in a certain direction in the ocean, and after a while, you leave your server and go into their server. Amazing. I love that idea. Because it still forces you to be in a certain area, a certain server, but you're not bound there. So, what does the game do for you, Eddie? How do you feel? I know you don't like the combat.
I freaking hate the combat. It is. I'm not even gonna get into that. So, like I said before, these games are a very lethargic but pleasant experience. Like, I don't mind sitting there for hours fishing and cooking. It I would like I don't want to play PlanetSide, say in that moment. I don't want to spend a couple hours playing that and beating my head against the wall against the Vanu. So I'll get on Worm and then start fishing and cooking for you guys so that you guys can maintain your nourishment and your hunger levels high.
Mm-hmm.
And that's fine for me. It's a relaxing pace.
Yeah, this
And
is like...
watching you guys develop the town, it looks amazing.
Mm-hmm. I need to do some coverage on that. We waited until we had a settlement token so no one could come troll us. But it's amazing, super fun. And if certain people are interested in coming playing with us, it's okay. The average people, I might tell you what server we're on, but if you're interested, tweet at me, let me know if you want to play with us. And if I am more familiar with you, maybe I'll let you come live in the town and everything. If not, maybe I'll say come live nearby. I don't know, because you can kind of ruin someone's day in the game, so like Minecraft. So we'll see how it goes. But at any rate, you know, like Eddie's saying, you could, if you need to tear through a Netflix season, but you don't want to only be watching Netflix, you can fully watch Netflix. And as long as you get used to the pacing of crafting and everything, you can just, you know, be sawing your logs into boards, watching Netflix, watching the thing like corner of your eye, and then you can go build a house and you just are doing it. Because it's not like a mini game. You don't have to like do it. You just say make a board, and you gotta know that you have enough stamina to do it. And then once you've done it, good. There you go. You can keep making more, assemble things. The skill grind is intense, very intense, but it makes sense and it adds for an extended experience that isn't fruitless, I would say. Because for some games it works that you can go into the woods with a sword, become a level 5 swordsman in an hour, and be able to go kill some kind of actual monster. In this game, there's giant scorpions the size of cars, and they kill the crap out of you all the time. And the only way we found to kill them is to do a glitch where you can basically hide in a gate, go out of the gate, hit them, and come back in and hit them, and they won't be able to hit you. But then that's for spiders. Scorpions attack too fast, and they just stab a giant hole in your chest instantly. And you literally take damage on certain body parts. Like, you'll get in a battle and you'll leave, and you'll notice you have a giant hole in your chest. And it says if you don't have a priest cure it, then you can just have your organs fall out, and you'll die slowly. It's very Oregon Trail. But it's lethargic but pleasant, as a scholar once said.
This gentleman over here.
But like, so far one of my biggest problems with the game is, like, if you look at that coastline in the back, that is across a very, very large lake, but it doesn't render things very far, which is kind of troubling because we were very confused about where we were on the map because it looked like we were on a pond. And then we tried to walk around the pond, and it took like 3 hours. So what we thought was like 100 yards was like 2 miles, and it wasn't registering at all because there was no dots at all on the horizon. Very confusing. But at any rate, that was very weird for me, and it really confused me, and it made it hard to go settling because we saw that on the horizon, but there could be a whole castle over there. So that was weird, but as a whole, I love the game because you can just build stuff pretty freely. It's still on a grid system. Other than that, you're pretty much freely able to do whatever you want once you get your skill high enough. So check it out. It's free to play. The levels cap at, like, if you can get to like 100 carpentry, but in the free version you can only get to 20. Now that's like a couple days of straight grinding carpentry, so you'll have plenty of time to really experience the game with no restrictions. And if you want to place a town, like an actual protected town, you have to pay to have that, or you can go in the woods and just build a house. And on a non-PvP server, no one can touch your house as long as you log in and maintain it. Like, if it's rotting, you fix it. So the game's there to be played, free to play. You can be a little squatting hippie settler. Gypsies. Now then, Pathfinder Online and its Kickstarter funding success. So they needed $1 million, and they were at $972,177 6 hours prior to their deadline, which on Kickstarter means you don't get any of it. So they had $970,000 to need $1 million, and they had 6 hours to go. If you told me raise $30K in 6 hours, I'd be like, oh, that's not happening. But on Kickstarter, that basically means, with these numbers, that means you're good to go. It's going to happen. Because the big wig people like Notch and other big, like Gabe Newell, are tweeting it out, and you're done deal. So in 6 hours, they needed $30K, and they got what I think was just shy of like 200,000. Man, where'd that update go? I had the number. Either way, they made, well and beyond what they needed. So that's phenomenal. And Pathfinder is, in the realm of Dungeons and Dragons. So if you like pen and paper, Dungeons and Dragons, that kind of thing, they're actually making a proper game out of it, not like a Neverwinter kind of game. So they're also making a Neverwinter game. But I love the depth and the care of pen and paper. I just cannot be bothered to sit at a kitchen table with people and do pen and paper. I need the polygons. I need the game. I need the rules to be mechanically set forth for me. Can't do it on a table. Just not my game. So I love the depth they have and what they have to pull from and what they can achieve with it. Put it digitally, sold. They have $1 million. Done deal. It's going to happen. Love it. And I love the support. How do you feel, Eddie, about Kickstarter grandness and D&D digitization?
Kickstarter is an amazing crowdfunding device nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that these guys got the money they need in that short amount of time is no surprise at all. Kickstarter and word of mouth from these larger developers that have the money, that have the popularity, help these guys out. It's great stuff. And Pathfinder itself, I've read some of the description, and it is sounding like a legit game that I would play for a while.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we've already touched on how Kickstarter is one of the many new waves of the future, at least for getting... I mean, it seems like it's a viable option to do every game, not just resurrection projects and like upstarts and things. It seems like, like a game. I'm trying to think of something viable that did, like, if they want to make a Halo 5, it seems like they could actually do a Kickstarter for it just to get that much more money ahead of time. It's basically not unlike just doing a pre-order, but with Kickstarter, it's a pre-order with some additional perks usually, and or just more of a donation at times. So, you have your like 1 cent to $59 donation, which is a donation. At $60, you get the game. And then at like 61 to 80, it's a donation, or 79, it's a donation. You hit that 80 mark, you get the game and you get a poster or digital content. So you can get actual hard things and then donate, or you can just donate a little bit and not get anything. If you want to get it maybe way down the line in the future, you've helped make it. So you have the option to actually be generous about it or to get the product as a pre-order. So basically, you're just giving money straight to the developer, avoiding things like GameStop and all these things that take their cut. And they're able to make the game and not have to fire people. They could actually hire people. It's an amazing idea, and it's, in terms of a project, a creative project where it takes, in video games, years to make, getting the money up front is mind-boggling and amazing. You don't have to take out a loan. It's just, here's the money. It's a done deal. The project is guaranteed for the most part. It's being a graphic designer, I know what it's like to work on something and not get paid, or not get paid what you want, or things to change down the road. I would love for someone to say, we need you to make a logo, and everyone who's going to buy the product is going to give you $5 to make it. I'd be like, sweet. Imagine how much money the guys who do Coca-Cola logos would make if anyone who used a Coke can basically pre-ordered the logo. They'd be trillionaires. So I'm excited about this game, and I'm yet again more excited that it's Pathfinder, so that's huge, and a lot of people are huge on that, but this isn't like the Double Fine project, where it's someone with a huge gaming reputation getting a crap load of money that's kind of expected almost. This is a big IP, not a video game IP, but it's a big IP, and them getting $1 million and like 100K basically in 6 hours. So I'm excited that it's not just something that is starting to be like, if Gabe Newell was like, I need $6 million, he wants to give me money, everyone would give him $1 because he made Steam. But basically, if I had just an amazing idea and something to show for it, people would give me money to help make the game, and I think that's awesome. So I'm glad it's not just big name people as well. Oh, Joe Biden, with all your shenanigans. So if you've been following the news as I see it, Joe Biden, the government, Barack Obama, the NRA, insane clown posse, they've probably said something. I don't doubt
it.
Magnets? But Joe Biden was tasked with the job of finding out why people are killing people. And he goes, video games? Eyebrows raised. So he was tasked to basically stop gun violence, more or less. The last school shooting in Connecticut has spurred this. And this time it wasn't a child in like a high school murdering another child. It was a grown man murdering a lot of innocent kids. And this has spurred yet another look into why video games are causing murders, basically. They skirting around the issue this time, since it's a grown man and little kids, but they're still somehow managing to pull video games into the mix, and they're calling it violent media. But you never see movies brought up. It's always just video games. It's like violent media. Now let's go to the topic of video games. So millions and millions of dollars have been invested and planned for these efforts to figure out why violent media are causing gun violence, which is kind of ridiculous because they won't actually come out and say these things. And they actually are saying we're not singling out video games. But they're not looking into specifically things like human behavior, what causes violence. It's violent media and why it causes human behavior, which is sort of lunacy because if you know anything about primates and how they go into the jungle and one of them looks at the other and they go, it's go time. They grab sticks and rocks and they fashion them as clubs and they go marching for miles through the jungle. They find another pack or tribe or what have you of primates and they will bash their skulls open and eat their brains and take their women and kill their children. It's insane, but what the Vikings did, primates are still doing, or primates are doing that. So if you make any connection to evolution or primates, you can easily see that nature is doing these things. This is the nature of living organisms to have war and hunt and kill. Now, sadly, there are criminals and murderers. It's an awful thing. But monkeys and primates aren't playing video games and becoming murderers. It's unrealistic. But yet again, it's linked back to video games, and there's been countless studies constantly saying there's no connection. There's absolutely no connection. If anything, it is a stress reliever of sorts. But Joe Biden had this huge meeting, and he had the, what is it? Is it the ESA? What is that video game?
ESA.
ESA, Electronic Software Association, the NRA, National Rifle Association. They had all these people show up, and they were trying to sort this stuff out. And of course, they get nowhere really, and video games still aren't off the table. And Biden has now said, no, I wasn't accusing video games. But at a gun control meeting, you have the foremost leaders of the video game community, with the people who represent all of the guns of America. I mean, it's crazy. It makes no sense. It's troubling that in this day and age, things like video games, which I myself and I know hundreds of other friends, dear friends, family members who attribute nothing to video games except cherished memories, stress relievers, vacations from reality, what have you, and people who've never played them at all and just happen to walk through the room when someone's lobbing off somebody's arm or whatever, or killing prostitutes in Grand Theft Auto. They see just these one singular clips, none of the story, none of the build-up, none of the experience, none of the drama, none of the emotion or creativity. And, they just see this singular act of violence and think it's making people murderers. And anytime they link it to a school shooting, it's, oh, did he play that Call of Duty? And they go, yeah. And they go, that's what it was then. Case closed. It's crazy. Not that he was bullied, not that he was burned with lit cigarettes from his family members and made to sleep outside, the crazy harassment things. It's never that. It's what's something I hate. Oh, I hate video games. Well, he played video games, so I'm going to make a linkage there. And then to throw in the fact that we're talking millions of dollars are being spent to investigate this. Committees, tests, classes, and studies. It's rather mind-boggling, really.
I could go on and cite everything I've said so far in all of these weekly wrap-ups. It's the same idea over and over again. It's just outlandish, irresponsible, and just downright wrong. The case has been made. Games don't make us violent. Okay, I will give you. I get shot in the head 10 times in a row by the same guy in the middle of a Call of Duty match. I'm going to be a little irked. And you come in, I may aggressively say something to you. That does not make me violent. That just makes me frustrated that this event has been occurring over and over again with no success on my part. This is the case for anything ever. And then take a look at the fact that games are sold worldwide, yet we have extremely violent acts or events occurring in the States alone. Well, at least more so than other countries. There's clearly a problem in the States that isn't present elsewhere. We need to be looking at.
Yeah, it's the ever expanding and yet incredibly rapidly deflating middle class we've created.
Mm-hmm.
We're like the only people who have a middle class, really. It's kind of hilarious. The middle class, this thing that doesn't really exist, yet everyone's in it. Awesome. No one's allowed to be low class anymore. It's just not a thing. No one's allowed to be there anymore. You have to have an all-A average through high school and go to college to become homeless on welfare. Awesome. Can we just let people drop out of high school and become mechanics because they love motorcycles and can't read? I think that's okay. I think that's fine. Because instead of making them hate their lives, be in debt forever, trying to go to college because they can't really read well, and all they want to do would be a mechanic, let them. It's okay. How about any child left behind who can do something productive elsewhere? Let's do that. I think that's plenty fair. But this is the kind of culture that creates murderers, because they don't understand why they can't read and write at a 12th grade level, because they can't read or write at a 5th grade level. That's kind of what it comes down to. But either way, we're talking $500 million spent on gun control. This is also counting every allocation for video games studies and how they're causing serial killers, murderers, and things like that. Now, if I can find that quote, he said, oh, I don't know if I will. Dang it. But he had a good quote, and it's in one of my news articles, or my news
Is
videos.
wise.
It was a very...
The CDC one?
Was it the CDC one?
Could be.
Let's find out.
We don't benefit from ignorance. We don't benefit from not knowing the science of this epidemic of violence. Congress should fund research into the effects of violent video games. The effects of violent video games have on young minds. I was with him until he mentioned games.
Yeah. Well, see, what I take out of that
Which is fine.
You know, he's saying... What he says, what the first part he says, you know, we don't benefit from ignorance. You know, we don't benefit from not knowing the science of this epidemic of violence. Congress should fund the research into the effects of violent video games on young minds. So he's specifically talking about video games, because this specifically is hiring the CDC, Center for Disease Control, to research the effect of video games on people. Honestly, I feel like this is him saying, this is ridiculous. We're going to have the CDC, the people who have the only sample of smallpox in the country to prevent it from ever outbreaking again. They have smallpox. This place is 2 minutes down the road from my house. They have smallpox there to make sure it never outbreaks again. These people are doing a study to see if video games make people murderers or whatever. And no, the CDC is the place where in The Walking Dead they go to, and there's like, it's like Mission Control NASA. That's the CDC. That's the people who they're having this study do. The people who everyone thinks has a cure for zombieism or will cause zombieism. Now, they're doing this study. It's, I think, $500,000 or something like that. It's ridiculous. It's an exuberant amount of money. Either way, he then says to study what video games have the effect. So I think he thinks it's ridiculous. And he is saying we will have the people who cured smallpox, basically, do a test. A once and for all test is what I think he's trying to do. Because once you have the CDC do it, who else is going to do it? Like all of China? You're going to have all of China do a test? Like the Jedi? Who else is going to do a test?
I like this idea, the end all be all proof that this is just needs to get dropped.
Cause
I was initially looking at this with some pretty angry shades
yeah.
and just took it for what it was, that he is as retarded as the rest of the
Mm-hmm.
people that surround him. But I guess, look at his track record, look at the way he speaks. He is an intelligent human being, very intelligent human being.
Mm-hmm.
And I would like to think what you are saying is, in fact, the way he
That's what
feels.
I'm hoping for. I mean, I can tell you, I've never voted for Obama. I don't. I don't too much agree with a lot of his opinions. However, I have health care because of him. That's pretty cool. Um, so that's awesome, and he, has my respect for that because I actually got something out of him, and I didn't vote for him. But at the same time, I hope this is what I'm thinking. He seems very level-headed, and this is the kind of thing where if they find somehow video games affect this, whatever, they can basically just ban video games for the most part. Like all creativity in video games. I mean, you take violence out of video games, there's no video games. They don't exist. Like what we know as video games, like think of your top 5 games. Are you killing stuff in it? Yeah, you're killing stuff in it. It's pretty much a fact. Take that out, you kind of have nothing. Like there's no reason to play. There's no risk. The reward isn't worth it. There's no point. So
There's no challenge.
yeah, that's the thing. It's human nature is living. It's eating, sleeping, reproducing. It's prolonging life. If you don't die and or kill, there's no reason. So it's the ultimate drive. So that's how they get you to sit in front of a screen, is because life or death. Now, that's what causes gaming addictions, but that's a whole different story. That's a negative side of gaming, not killing. So I hope he's actually on the same page with all of people who have brains and knows video games don't cause these things. Having a study done if video games are making us lazy and stuff, yeah, okay, no kidding they are. But do I enjoy them? Am I productive? Those are different side effects, So I'm all for doing studies on does video games make you lazy, lose your job, and everyone hates you, whatever. Heart failure, sure. I support that, and I could probably say just yes. Save your money. Yes, it does this. So if this pretty much has to come out in favor of video games, and if it doesn't, you can pretty much say goodbye to video games, because if America does any sort of outlawing on video games creative content, they're gone, because the rest of the world would go, freaking Americans got rid of it, we're done. The second we outlaw things like that, the rest of the world is going to be like, the freaks in America did it.
Well, I think it would be a crash in the video game industry just in the States. Could you imagine what would happen if like Japan just stopped producing the games they produce just for Japan? Just because Americans stopped producing games?
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. They're not going to stop just because America stopped.
True. But
and then they still have the UK.
Right.
They still have Australia.
But I mean, the games, if you subtract the Japanese market, like Final Fantasy type market and like Metal Gear and stuff, you take those out of the equation, and we're talking Call of Duties, we're talking World of Warcraft, like Western games. Western gaming is gone, basically, if any sort of real violence control in video games comes out. But yes, there will still be the market of the UK, UK and Japan, basically, and then you'll have Australia and things like that spattered in and stuff like that. Because, I mean, I think China has a pretty huge control on things like video games. I'm not really sure. I know Australia has
crazy curfews out there. I know that.
I think Australia has a crazy mature rating, right?
Something about it can't be. I remember Left 4 Dead. No blood was allowed.
Yeah, something like that. So it's crazy, but then that leads into this point, which I don't know if I pasted it. So a Missouri House member is supporting a tax or a bill that is a tax for violent video games. It's beyond unconstitutional. It's downright illegal. And if it ever goes through, which it's almost impossible for it to, but the idea is that someone is supporting the idea of something illegal in government. I mean, it's legal. It's taxing art. It's mind-boggling. But basically, it's the idea of how we have those legal whorehouses out in the deserts. You know, there's crazy taxes on those, taxes on cigarettes, taxes on alcohol, all these sin taxes. They're saying make video games a sin tax. Now, it's saying a 1% tax. Does that affect me? No, it doesn't affect me. But it's ludicrous, and it proves video games, or it labels video games as actually a source of bad behavior and whatever. I think it's insane. I don't even think there should be taxes. I think they're mind-boggling, and there should be a sales tax, flat sales tax. You know, I buy a video game, make it $65, and don't give me an income tax. We're sold on that. I buy food, you don't tax me. I buy a sports car, you tax me like crazy. But that's besides the point. A video game tax for violent video games is unconstitutional, and it's illegal, and it has a little bit of footwork going on. Now, this isn't necessarily in motion. It's not like it's on the table in the Senate and you need to like tweet people and freak out about it. But feel free to tweet your senators, send them letters, call them, and be like, "How do you feel about violent video games? Like, you know, what's the stance on that? You know." They usually will tell you. They'll answer your calls. They'll write you back. They need your votes, and give it a shot. Tweet at them. You can find out who represents you, and you can hit them up and just drop them a line. They're usually sleeping in meetings, and you can get a hold of them. So this is the kind of thing that I look at and I kind of laugh at and go, that won't happen. But it terrifies me to think I won't pay attention to it, and it will happen. So if you care about video games...
Remember SOPA?
Yeah, SOPA. I mean, I sat here for 3 days doing Twitter bombs to every senator and every congressperson I could find when Athene did his giant SOPA Twitter bomb thing. And people were replying, like freaking out, like thinking terrorists were attacking them, because we had like 40,000 people tweeting them at once. All these people every 5 minutes. It was amazing. And where is SOPA? It's not around. Is that the reason? I don't know, but I know a crap load of people were saying, "Oh my gosh, I did not know that SOPA was going to do that. I was told by a colleague that it did this, and I said yes to it, and I withdraw my support right now based on any and all of the facts you just told me from all these tweets." That's phenomenal. And it shows you that it's impossible with all the legislation that are attached to these bills. You can't read it. You have to have some slave peon tell you, well, this makes you have to put a stop sign on every single intersection in all the United States and blah, blah, blah. Like, and they go, okay, you've told me 5,000 of these things today. I can't hear anymore. Say yes. Like, I like stop signs. But then attached to it is, you go through a stop sign, police officers have to murder you in the streets. Like, they don't know the sub details. So things like SOPA almost get through, and then you find out, you know, you're a senator, you sign the SOPA bill, and then you go home to watch Netflix. It doesn't exist. Oh, SOPA got rid of it, sorry. And you're like, no, why Netflix? What was it doing wrong? Nothing. So it's the same kind of deal with this. If it gets any real traction, we're screwed. If it, you know, actually goes somewhere. Will it? If anyone has a brain, no.
That's giving them a lot of credit.
It is. So
I think
that's kind of why I'm like, things like cigarettes, where they're undoubtedly bad for you, they should be illegal, but they have too many lobbyists not allowing them to be illegal. Oh well. Should cigarettes just contain natural tobacco like cigars? Yeah, they should. Too easy. You gotta make them full of tar. Psychos. Or full of carcinogens. They don't understand. Stop putting Windex in it and just make it tobacco. But, you know, should alcohol? Yeah, because it makes you make stupid decisions. So, legal limit makes sense. Video games? If we were China and we were communists and we decided that, yes, you need to go work 12 hours a day or whatever, you can't play video games for 12 hours a day because you have to sleep so you can work harder. during your allotted work time. That makes sense. But last time I checked,
I know
I
freaking commie.
wasn't a communist. Now, I don't know if America's changed. We might actually be communists now, but I don't think we are. So I don't think a violent video game tax has its place, nor does censoring art of any kind. I, having an art degree, could really kind of go poop on somebody and say, I'm an artist. And they go, oh, that's special. But I know. Don't support the video game tax. So, usually art prevails, and video games have pretty much won that argument that they are art forms. So
Comics did, movies did.
yeah.
Games are gonna do it.
I mean, legal precedent is in the favor of video games pretty much completely. And my honest opinion is that every single person who should be a politician or a figurehead or a leader of the free world is too busy playing video games.
They're playing Angry Birds right now.
Oh, they're playing Eve.
Oh, they're playing Eve.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
They're scheduling raids. They're playing Eve. Those are the people who need to be running the country. The skinny, malnourished, or morbidly obese people who can't get up to eat and or exercise because they are too busy planning intergalactic military espionage. They need to be running the country, not people who want to just be popular, which is politicians. At least I feel like Obama actually cares, though, oddly enough.
Yeah.
Which is, the crappy thing is, for me, I feel like he really cares. I just don't really agree with everything he says. That's the sad thing. But
also consider a lot of things he says is things he has to say because that's what everyone else wants him to say.
Yeah.
But I mean, whatever. Politics. That's
It sucks. Get it out of my video games.
Yeah.
I want politics to be things like Eve and like Deus Ex, like fiction, you bastards. Get out of my games. Get in to know where you suck. Now then, our final article. Now this is sheerly for one thing, look at this picture. What's going on? Military. Killing somebody. Alright. This line wraps up this entire argument and should be said the second there is any proceedings, court hearings, discussions of any kind. All this money spent on research shouldn't exist. However, if it is a one-time, or if it is a final research, if in 100 years they want to do more research, I am fine with that. But in my near lifetime, stop doing video game violence research. However, unless it's starting to get plugged into the back of my head, then I will let you do research because now I'm downloading violence into my brain. However, this line wraps up this entire argument and makes it unequivocally video games are innocent. Video games don't create violence in society. They reflect it. That's freaking so true. What is it that people are worried about? Kids, whatever, going and shooting people. They're learning this from games like Call of Duty, where you are simulating being a soldier, killing soldiers or terrorists, almost always. Now, your kid says, I'm going to drop out of high school, or I just graduated high school, I'm not going to go to college. And you go, oh man, that is really disappointing. I can't believe you're going to do that to your family. We've worked so hard to put you to college. They go, I'm going to join the military. And you go, I'm sorry. I'm really proud of you. That is such a service you're going to do. I can't believe you're going to put yourself in jeopardy like that for the sake of the country and for your family, like blah, blah, blah. You are literally going to go murder people, and a lot of people are incredibly supportive of that. But you simulate it in a video game, and you're lazy, you're whatever, and then potentially a murderer. I don't understand that, because you are reflecting society's standards. It boggles my mind. Is there a difference? Of course there's a difference, but boils my blood.
I like this line about the role of violence. The role of violence in storytelling is as old as human history, and it has long served a purpose in conveying values of honesty, courage, confidence, and perseverance.
Mm-hmm.
It's a storytelling mechanism.
Yeah, and it all goes back to the survival instincts. Like, if you don't have mortality on the line, you have nothing on the line. Therefore, there's no point to tell the story. There's no point to experience it. There's no point to live. You know, especially as a man, a boy, or a dude, everything comes down to violence. Like, your pride. You will fight someone for your pride, for your honor, for your family, for your woman, for your wife, your girlfriend, your mother, your sister, your daughter. You'll go into war and take a grenade, a bullet for your brother, your friend, your father, your comrade, for your president. Like, what we consider manhood is largely based on things stemmed in violence. And for the most part, they're all highly respectable and people support them. If someone walked up and punched my wife and I just beat the crap out of him, everyone would be like, yeah, that's a great husband. Everyone. Every single person. I go beating up hookers, pimps in Grand Theft Auto. I'm an awful, awful human being who's lazy and disgusting. That economy and the hypocrisy is amazing, and I'm hoping history books, everyone can look back on the time where video games were thought to be evil, and kids in school will laugh, and they'll have their hour game breaks after lunch.
Yes. Yes.
Their gaming siesta. In a perfect world. So, on that note, that is the weekly wrap-up of the news as I see it. It's been a very slow week for news for me. Like I said, this is a new show, or my new show is based on what I really care about. And for 3 days, in between other days, there was really nothing I cared about talking about. It was things that I could have mentioned, but I felt like would have been wasting y'all's time, especially if I was to put an ad on them. It seemed just not right. So we saved a few things here and there for this show. And if you haven't yet gone and subscribed to FNGEddie, he is awesome. He is my bro dude, broham, jingle jam, awesome fellow
Dude, bro,
friend.
man. Broski.
Check out his channel. He has awesome spotlights on games, free-to-play games, free-to-play MMOs. We do some Let's Plays here and there, record them, upload them. If you've seen the PlanetSide live streams, they're really fun. Check out his channel. Go subscribe. Check out his WarFrame spotlight. Check out his new MMO free-to-play type, was it the Budget Gamer? Weekly Budget Gamer?
News for the Budget Gamer. Yep.
News for the
Weekly.
Budget
Every
Gamer.
Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon, I'll have an episode up.
Yep. So on
highlighting
Sundays,
at least 10 games.
Yep. So on Sundays, you can check out his Budget Gaming video, and then you can, in the evening, come check out the weekly wrap-up. So that is it for the news as I see it weekly wrap-up with FNGEddie. Go follow us on Twitter, Algol Gaming, FNGEddie. Go subscribe to his YouTube. Check out his videos, or we'll murder you. And that is it for this week. I will see you guys
because
tomorrow.
we reflect violence.
Violence. I'm a murderer. So I will see you guys tomorrow, counting on there being some good news. Usually Mondays are pretty good. So hopefully I'll see you guys tomorrow. If not, I'll see you Tuesday. If not, then the world has ended and the CDC made zombies who play video games and kill people. That's the reason zombies win. Video games.
It's smallpox.
They play Left 4 Dead and train themselves how to be better. All right, guys. We will see you tomorrow and next Sunday.
Bye.